Well, it may be a lame duck Congress, but it is not a quiet one. Lawmakers remain at loggerheads on the future of health care reform, a new immigration policy, and the Keystone pipeline, of course, as Republicans commit to blocking anything the president fights for. Meanwhile, a USA Today poll proves that 60% of Americans favor the pipeline, and 46% also think that the president should wait to reform immigration. Well, Republican Congressman Scott Rigell joining me now, a member of the House Budget and Armed Services Committees, and who just won re-election, by the way, in Virginia's 2nd District, and voted for the Keystone pipeline, joins us now from the Hill. Congressman, congrats, by the way, on your victory.
Thank you so much.
You know, we followed your career on the Hill very closely in the last several years.
We've covered a lot.
We have covered a lot of ground, I know, Congressman. Okay, so if this vote looks like it's going to get the magic number 60 and head to the desk of the president, and he vetoes it, Congressman, is there enough of a majority, a 2/3 majority, kicks it back to the House to pass it again, to override the veto?
Well, I think there would be. I'll go out on a limb on that, and I'm sure others wouldn't agree with that. But listen, maybe it's just I'm so optimistic about our ability as Americans to create jobs and to really grow our way out of this kind of dull, kind of stagnant economy that we're all struggling with. Energy is a principal way to do that. It is in Virginia's 2nd Congressional District. I ran on it. My opponent really opposed coastal Virginia energy. I think all across the country there's the potential to grow our economy through energy, and I think the Keystone pipeline it's supported by so many trade unions. To me, it's a bipartisan issue. We want to put Americans back to work.
Do you share the view, though, among some of your colleagues, particularly in the Senate, like John Thune, who says this is just a cynical political exercise? Let's just drop it.
You know, Betty, I've really tried to stay away from trying to get into people's motives as to why they do things, and I think that's helped me in my public service. That said, I can come to no other conclusion that this really is a partisan political move by Senator Reid in order to help Senator Landrieu. So I don't think it's really designed to get jobs going. I think it's really just it's a political move here, which is really unfortunate. We have the potential to grow our economy. Keystone would be a great way to do that, and I hope it gets passed in the Senate and it gets over to the president. Maybe he'll have an epiphany that this is a good idea and he'll sign it. I don't know. Oh,
well, you know, 60% of Americans say that they approve this Keystone pipeline, so at least there's a majority there. But, you know, Congressman, it goes back to this issue that you and I have talked about over the last several years, which is that it certainly doesn't enamor the public to Congress to get things done. And I thought we were supposed to get things done after the November election.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think any one party has just this central mandate. The American people are really behind one party. What I think they're behind is really having the discernment to recognize the difference between a compromise in principle, which we ought to reject, and then a principled compromise. And we need to be able to have the wisdom to identify that and the courage to vote for it. Our system doesn't work without compromise. It's not an easy message to share with folks, but it really is the truth. We've got to have common ground that's centered around, you know, some sound principles. So whether it's immigration or I'm convinced that we can find it. We've got to. There's really no alternative to it.
Well, on immigration, though, I mean, what is it that, you know, I know you want to wait to hear more about what the president is going to do, but how do we find that compromise on immigration? What do we do with the millions of illegal immigrants that are in our country right now?
Well, I think the key is to narrow things down. Even if we have some smaller nominal steps that would represent that common ground where the two circles, so to speak, are moved together, they do overlap just a little bit, I think the American people would appreciate that. I think what we're faced with and what I'm concerned about here is that the president is, I think, apparently going to try to advance things that he himself, just a couple of years ago, said he really didn't have the authority to do. So to convert like that, to say, well, prior to this, I didn't have the authority, but now he's going to push it forward. We're going to object to that in the strongest possible terms.
Well, Congressman, he would say that that he didn't have a Congress who was willing to step up on immigration. I want to play for you, Congressman, what we talked with Congressman John Yarmouth yesterday on the Democratic side, and this is why he says the president should go alone on this. Listen to what he said.
I was part of the bipartisan group of 8 that was actually tasked by Speaker Boehner in January of 2013 to get this done. At every step of the process that we were negotiating, our Republican colleagues said, Speaker Boehner says, go with it, I'm going to get it to the floor. Here we are, almost 2 years later, and Speaker Boehner has never been willing to bring anything to the floor, including piecemeal bills that his own Republican majority has passed.
So the president doesn't feel like he has a Congress that works with him?
Well, I wasn't privy to those direct conversations, so I really can't comment on what my colleague shared there. But I'd say this, the overall engagement of President Obama with this Congress, and I'm talking just having dinner or breakfast or just meeting with rank-and-file members, that is not happening. My Democratic colleagues are saying, Scott, we're not meeting with the president. So surely, members like me aren't. And I think that if the president really in his last 2 years said, look, things have not gone well these previous 6, I'm going to do something different. And if he engaged us constructively, consistently, I think that's the best way out of this. And he's not been doing that. But I hope he'll change in these last 2 years and engage us, and I think he'll see better results.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much. Republican Congressman Scott Rigell of Virginia, great to see you this morning. We're going to be